Hi, I'm Brandy Aguilar. It's Friday, May 8th, 2009. In this week's Beaker Beat, another life sciences company is stepping up to the plate in the fight against the swine flu. The FDA nominee is in the spotlight on Capitol Hill, and we'll have the results from our Twitter Craze survey. We'll have that and more in this week's edition of Beaker Beat. Life Technologies has just been added to the long list of companies helping in the swine flu outbreak. The California-based company is providing its diagnostic tests to health agencies across the world. They have a product for the H1N1 virus that the CDC and other labs are using to test people who are sick. Life Technologies has set up a 24-hour-a-day task force to help deal with questions in instrument training, managing the supply chain to make sure its customers get the products in a timely manner, and ramping up the manufacture of its components that will be used to test and identify influenza. CEO Mark Stevenson said, "Our technologies continue to be essential tools for public health agencies as they shift from reacting to the emergence of a potential pandemic flu strain to proactively monitoring populations to identify the new strain as it arises." Other companies already playing a major role include Roche and GlaxoSmithKline. They are the only two antiviral drugs, Tamiflu and Relenza, to which the swine flu has been found to be susceptible. 3M has been busy turning out a high volume of respiratory masks since the outbreak, and Novartis and Sanofi-Aventis are set to meet with the World Health Organization next week to discuss the potential of a rapid development cycle for a swine flu vaccine. CEO Dan Vasella was on CNBC discussing those timelines.
We have several steps. The earliest probably we will have the first material for clinical trials is in June, and then we think by September we should have commercial material, meaning that this will be material which can be sold. That quantities and timing depend a lot on the scenario you have if you concentrate fully on just producing the new vaccine for this H1N1 flu, or if you produce also the seasonal vaccine.
President Barack Obama's healthcare reform is getting positive feedback from some big powerhouses in the medical industry. During the annual conference of the Massachusetts medical device industry in Boston, AdvaMed CEO Stephen Olb said White House officials have made a calculation that healthcare has more of a political payoff than energy in the short term. They've also paid attention to the Clinton reform debacle of the early 1990s, so as not to repeat the mistakes of the last Democratic administration. Some key components to the Obama plan include universal health coverage, subsidies to assure affordability, insurance reform, and measures to encourage prevention and better management of chronic diseases. When Eli Lilly CEO John Lechleiter was asked about the plan on CNBC, this is what he had to say.
We'd like to see more people covered by insurance. We'd like to see higher quality medical care delivered. We'd like to see cost pressures abate.
However, one note of caution came from AdvaMed CEO warning of potential flashpoints if government seeks to compete with private health insurers or overregulates pricing for healthcare product manufacturers. The president's top pick to oversee the FDA was on Capitol Hill. On Thursday, Dr. Margaret Hamburg went before a Senate committee to consider her nomination to run the troubled agency. Hamburg is an expert on bioterrorism and pandemics. Her hearing was moved up by almost a week due to the recent outbreak of the swine flu. Senator Edward Kennedy praised President Obama's nominee and said that a respected scientist is needed to restore morale at the agency that oversees the nation's food and drug safety. If confirmed by the Senate, Hamburg won't be just dealing with the swine flu. The agency has come under fire recently for issues involving problems with drugs, devices, and approval policies. And speaking of the FDA, one small drug maker experienced the equivalent of a Hail Mary from the agency this week. Shares of Vanda Pharmaceuticals surged Thursday after the FDA approved its schizophrenia drug, Fanapt. Last summer, the agency declined to approve Vanda's application, asking for more data and suggesting a gloomy fate for the drug, which was acquired when Novartis cast it aside years ago. Now, with a huge reversal of fortune, Vanda stock has risen almost 700% overnight in a surprise ruling to allow commercialization of the treatment. Vanda said it expects to start shipping the drug later this year. In a note to clients, one analyst said the decision was one of the most surprising moves we've seen out of the FDA in a long time. Other noteworthy product approvals this week were led by Medtronic. The Minneapolis company said the FDA just approved its attainability wire for treatment of heart failure. The wire, known as a lead, connects a patient's heart to a cardiac pacing device, which is implanted in the upper chest during surgery. The sales of implantable heart devices have been flat in the last couple of years due to safety concerns about leads. And Roche also got the green light for its drug Avastin to treat the most aggressive form of brain cancer. The Swiss drug maker says it got the go-ahead from the FDA after an advisory panel said that early data for the cancer drug showed enough promise to be considered for quick approval for patients with such an aggressive tumor. Avastin is already used to treat lung, colon, and breast cancers. This approval is the first new drug therapy for brain cancer by the agency in almost a decade. And it's also good news for Roche, whose shares fell last month after a study involving the cancer drug did not prevent the recurrence of colon cancer in patients who have already had surgery. And wrapping up this week's episode, we wanted to see what Beaker's users thought about all the Twitter hype.
It makes us feel connected and a part of each other's lives. Unfortunately, most of our day-to-day lives are hidden from people that care. Of course, we have email and blogs and phones to keep us connected, but you wouldn't send an email to a friend to tell them you're having coffee. Your friend doesn't need to know that.
We asked you to vote on your impression of the new microblogging platform that is sweeping the planet. The results? 17% said you love Twitter, 14% are confused about how to use it, and 44% said they just weren't interested. Well, one company is reportedly interested in the site. A technology blog reported that Apple is in talks to buy Twitter for almost $700 million. But when both sides were asked about the rumors, Twitter said they're not for sale, while Apple declined to comment. And remember, to keep on top of all the latest news at Beaker, join our LinkedIn group, or of course, follow us on Twitter at username Chief Beaker. That's going to do it for this week. See you next Friday. I'm Brandy Aguilar with Beaker Beat.